Alright, so came out here this morning and I taped everything off and I went over the primer, the second coat of primer, again with my Scotch-Brite very fine. And then I rolled and tipped my bright side blue glow white. We'll see if I can get, this is it here. Although you can see I'm really good at making messes anyhow. So Interlux bright side blue glow white. So that's what the bottom was. I painted the entire bottom with that. You should be able to see it in my camera. I did this side first, and if you look closely you can see a line, and then no line, and there's a line here, and a line here, and a line here. That's my roller lines. So what I was doing was I would roll it on, and then I'd grab my brush real quick and I'd tip the bubbles out of it, right? And then I'd move to the next section and I'd run the edge of my roller right down this line. So I'd roll it on and then I'd tip it again up to that point. Well, I'm no painter, so I'm learning how to use this stuff. What I should have done and what I did on the other side, see no lines on the other side? Look at my window, you can see the window in my garage reflecting. The other side is beautiful. It still has the lines, but much less. And I think I learned a method that's going to work better. Now this is the first coat, so it's a pretty light coat. I'm assuming even if you were to do the exact same thing on the second coat, it would probably look smooth as glass. It's smooth anyhow now. You can just see lines in it, which isn't a big deal. Second coat, I'm assuming, just like the primer, they'll completely disappear. On the other side, where you don't see those lines, what I did was, instead of running my roller after I would tip all of this with a brush, instead of running my roller right down this seam, when I came to lay the next section of paint on, I would overlap like halfway or so, and then I'd roll out to here, and several different directions back and forth, and I'd roll like halfway through this one that I just did, and then I would tip it out all the way to the second one back with the brush. Tip, tip, and then I'd come over to the next section, and instead of following this line, I would roll halfway over what I just did and stretch the paint out again, and then tip clear back too. That's what I started doing on that side, and you can see the difference. You can see the lines here, and on that side no lines. So that's one coat over there, the same as this. I just used a little different method and it looks beautiful. You can see the gloss on it. This stuff is nice. This bright side paint is really nice. I mean, it's not bad now, but after the second coat it's going to look really nice. Here it is across the transom. I love this bright side paint. It's a bit of a learning curve to figure it out, but as you can see on this side, I mean, look at that. Is that not impressive? And I didn't put the paint on any thicker or any thinner. I just modified how I was rolling it and tipping it. So that's the only difference. Man, beautiful paint. And you can see we're real glossy out here. It doesn't look glossy here. Well, it is, in fact, glossy out here. It's just like this. The entire side is super glossy. It's just that I have this tarp hanging up here, this piece of bisqueen, so it's making the light dull. What you're seeing out here is a reflection from my other shop lights over there. So it is super shiny. Let me see if I can get down here. Yeah, there you go. There you can see it. Nice and shiny all the way down. But it looks pretty good. It's still, like I've said several times throughout my videos, it is so weird to see this abrupt turn. This what in the world? It looks it looks so dumb looking at it from the top. We'll look down the front here. Oh, look at that. Anyhow, so there it is down the front. It looks so funky, but if we can get a view down the side, look at that. Perfectly straight line. So again, this stuff is super shiny. It laid super flat. Right here is our line. Let me get the light on it. Do you see any body work? I don't. Looks pretty good. So I think we did okay on our fairing compound. So coat number 1 is on of the white. I'll let her sit up at least 24 hours. And then I'll do the same thing all over again. I'll mask this line back out. I'll take my Scotch-Brite. I'll rough all of this up. And we'll roll on coat number 2. And I'll use the same method that I was doing on that side that turned out so flawless on this side. And I'll do, again, the whole bottom. In Interlux, bright side, blue glow white. And there it is. The white will be done. But it's looking awesome. Look at that thing. We get down here at the water line. Oh, isn't that pretty? Straight line, perfectly straight, all the way back. Making good progress. I let the first coat of white sit up for actually 48 hours. I let it sit up for 2 days. I came out today, and some of the spots that were a little thicker were dry enough to sand. So again, I went over the hull with my Scotch-Brite, very fine. You can see it. Look at the gloss on this. And again, same thing over here. It looks fuzzy, but it's just because of my Bisqueen hanging over the light. This thing is like glass. It is so shiny. There, you can see this side over here. This paint is amazing. Really clean tape line. And after the second coat, there are no more stripes from the roller. It just turned out super nice. This stuff really does, in my opinion, really does look sprayed. And I've just never experienced that with any kind of roll-on, brush-on paint. It's just so nice. So, I'll try to get some, there you can see some light. It's the little bit of light that's sticking out from the back of my Bisqueen here. But you can see the gloss, and I'll just try to walk down so you can see that it is in fact glossy everywhere. Turned out so nice. There, we can follow the shine off the boat, and again, it's covered in dust. It's really filthy, but follow the shine off of the wood onto the paint. And we'll see if we can do the same thing over here. Shine off the wood right onto the paint. So this thing is like beautiful. It is so nice. I can't say enough good about this Interlux Bright Side paint. So we are officially done with the white, and it took almost that full quart to get 2 coats on it. Almost. I probably got a quarter of that quart left. So it is so nice. It's turning out absolutely beautiful. Look at that. Awesome. So this is a little tool that I made for laying out my boot stripe. And remember, I want this boot stripe to appear to be the same width all the way down the side of the boat. So basically it's just a couple sticks beside each other, and they have opposing angles, and the thickness from the thickness of your stick is basically however wide you want your boot stripe to be. Now I made this boot stripe 1 inch, so these are 1 inch thick, and I just cut any old angle on the ends. Hopefully you can see that okay. So this tape, I taped them together in 2 spots. The tape is inside out so that they slide beside each other. So you can slide it in and out. So what happens is, let's say you have a 1 inch stripe. Back at the transom, because this is really close to vertical, that 1 inch stripe is going to look fine. All the way down. Until we cross over the chine. Now where we cross over the chine, that 1 inch, as it starts to get laid more horizontal, gets smaller. See how now it looks like a 1/4 inch, even though it's still a 1 inch stripe. So you have to compensate for that angle change by making your stripe wider, so it still looks like 1 inch horizontal, just like it were on the vertical. So that's what this tool is for. So back at the transom, I basically just laid out, and you can see it right here, a little pencil line at the 1 inch mark. It's hard to see, but it is in fact there, right there. So that is 1 inch. Then I came all the way forward and I started sliding these apart. So what you do is you put it on the bottom of your water line and you keep sliding them in and out until your level reads perfectly level. And you're touching the bottom of your water line, your boot stripe, and then you make a mark up here at the tip. So this, as you can see, this is much wider than 1 inch up here. In fact, if we lay our 1 inch on it, you can see how much wider than 1 inch that stripe is up here at the tip of the bow. It's closer to 1.5 inches or 1.75 inches. But using this and setting it up as level and then sliding it out until we're touching on both tips on the hull, what that does is it will project, when you're looking again from the side of the boat, that 1 inch will look perfectly level, perfect at the same thickness all the way down the hull. Even though as we get closer to horizontal on our hull, that line gets thicker and thicker and thicker, it will appear to be the exact same thickness all the way down. So that's a little tool that I made. I found it actually on YouTube, and this is what's going to allow me to make that stripe look 100% parallel all the way down the side of the boat. Even though the angle of the hull changes dramatically, it'll still appear the same thickness. And once I get that laid out and painted on, I'll be able to show you looking down from the top as that gets wider. So that's what I'm doing now. Now that I have my mark on the bow and my mark on the transom, I'll shoot my laser line, and that laser line will compensate for this. But what I needed was a finish point and a start point to set the laser to. So, making good progress. And we just put on our first coat of Interlux Bright Side Flag Blue. This stuff right here. Interlux Bright Side polyurethane, 1 part, just like the white. So, again, clean tape line. So there's our white, where it meets the blue. Can you believe that that finish is brushed and rolled on? I mean, it's just, I can't believe this paint. It is, again, I've said it several times, but this Interlux Bright Side paint, amazing. It looks sprayed. Look at the reflection of my wall, the Hornsby's back here, and everything that's hanging up above. I've never experienced that out of a roll-on brush paint. It's amazing. This stuff is beautiful. So here's our white stripe, and again, you can see how, just like I talked about, it's a normal thickness, 1 inch right here, and as soon as you cross over the chine, it gets really fat because the hull's almost horizontal, not quite. So it's its fattest here, and it gets narrower and narrower as we get up to the tip of the bow. However, it never comes fully back to 1 inch because we're still on angle. We're not perfectly vertical. But, like I've said a million times, let me see if I can get back here. When you get back from a distance and look at it, like you'll see it in the water, it's a perfectly straight line. Same gap. It appears to be the same thickness, even though it's not. I'll try to get less glare on it. So there it is. Looks like it's the exact same thickness all the way back. But when you get up close, you can see it's much wider here than it is back here. Oh, wow. That's amazing. What you're seeing here, this wrinkle, is my visqueen tarp up above it. This thing's like a mirror. Here's the camera. There's my camera. There's me. So let's wave to you. Hey, not too bad for roll-on paint. And again, just like the white, there are some light spots. You can see them back here. Once the roller got saturated, I started at this point. Once the roller got saturated, in here, that all went away. So again, on the second coat, it'll totally disappear. It's going to look beautiful. But look at that. Interlux flag blue with Interlux blue glow white stripe all the way around. So this is the first coat. Again, I'm going to have to tape off this blue. I'll have to sand everything up again and then roll on the second coat. But man, talk about pretty. Look at that stuff. And our body line, let me get some light on it. Our joint is right in here somewhere, and we'll try to run the light all the way down it. I don't see it. I mean, I think we did pretty good. So, we'll get a little farther back. Look at that thing. And it's the same story with this one. If I can get down far enough, I don't have quite as much room on this side, but if we get down to water level, it's a perfectly straight line, and it appears the exact same width all the way down. Isn't that neat? Even though when you get up close, it's definitely not the same thickness. This is close to 3 inches. Well, that's 1 inch. So beautiful, beautiful paint. Oh my goodness, this stuff is just unbelievable. Look at that. Making good progress. Wow. Like glass. Alright, well, for the final coat of paint, as you can see, I've turned my garage into a one-room painter shanty. Some 1x4 and some of that same bisqueen tarp, the 2 mil that I had over the top. So let's go take a look here. Trying to keep the dust off the final coat. If it works, well, it was worth it. If it didn't, I'm not out a bunch of money. But again, just another flawless paint job. I figured if I could set up this little shanty here and seal it off as good as I could, it couldn't do anything but just help the final finish. And now that the second coat's on, the light spots that were back here at the back and over on that side, those are completely gone. And just like the white, just like the primer, 2 coats is about right on these, on this particular paint. I don't think you could get enough coverage keeping the paint thin with 1 coat to get a good result. So 2 is about right. It took about same as the white, right at a quart, just shy of a quart, to paint the bottom of the zip. So we'll let it sit up, making fantastic progress, just like a mirror. So Interlux Bright Side paint, absolute winner. Just beautiful stuff. Making good progress. Alright, well, it is officially June 1st, 2015. For the month of May, we put in 14¼ hours in the zip. So that brings us up to 209 hours total. All of this month, all of last month, 14¼ hours was all paint. So that brings us up to a total of 28 hours into the paint of the boat, and that includes, setting up the little painter shanty, all of the taping, masking, all of the laser lining work for the water line. All of that work was all in this 28 hours of the paint, including sanding, prep time, all of that stuff, as well as laying the paint out. So 28 hours to paint the bottom of the zip. We went up $63, and that was just masking material, painting stuff, basically, just stuff to paint the boat. Rollers, brushes, paint trays, that kind of stuff. So, anyhow, that brings our grand total into the zip up to $2,292.11. And we are really not that much farther than the last little portion of the video. Basically, for the last 2 weeks, I've just let the zip sit, let the paint cure. So we'll take a quick look at that. So this is it. This is 2 weeks later, after the last and final coat. You can see it's still a mirror. I left my little painter's shanty set up to keep the dust off of it. And I'll probably, I mean, the paint is very hard now, but I'm going to show you a little portion here in a minute of the trailer I have and some work I'm going to do to it. I decided to let the paint cure an extra week or two before I flip it, just to make sure that this stuff is super rock hard. So, you know, it'll be 3 to 4 weeks, basically a month-ish of cure time just sitting in here, because I don't want to have to flip this boat over again or try to paint it, you know, put it up on jack stands and touch up work because I rushed flipping the boat over and I scarred the paint or something like that. I'm hoping that this is the last time we'll ever see the bottom of this boat, at least for several years. So again, we're going to let it cure for at least 3 weeks and probably closer to a month. We're 2 weeks into that now. So while I do my trailer work modifications, we'll just let this sit and cure up. It's hard now. I mean, it's nothing to worry about. You could rub on it, roll on it, jump. I wouldn't jump on it, but you could jump on it. But as you can see, again, you know, the light is muffled because of the bisqueen tarp, but it's like a mirror. Let me see if we can come up here. Yeah, see, there I am. There's me. It's pretty dang shiny, and it just doesn't do it a whole lot of justice because of the tarp again. But you know, if we look over here, here's my lighter. You can see the reflection of the purple lighter in the paint, you know. So I mean, it's like a mirror. If this bisqueen were down, you would see the reflection of all my rafters and everything around it. But so one quick look at the transom. Oh man, is that not gorgeous? Beautiful, beautiful. So let's go take a look at the trailer. Making fantastic progress. Beautiful. So while the final coat of paint on the zip is drying, I decided to start working on this. This will be my zip trailer. This is a trailer that I had from another boat that I sold a few months ago, but I decided to keep the trailer because it was just about the right size for the zip. So I'm going to have to modify it. I'm going to get rid of these two slides, the bunks. They're made out of like some plastic lumber, which is probably a fine material for an aluminum boat, but I want something a little softer for my beautiful painted bottom wood boat. So this trailer was built for a 12-foot boat. It was actually 11'9", and the zip is 14'4". So I'm going to extend it here. I've got to get rid of these mounts, cut this off, and I'll extend this back an extra 3 feet. And the bunks will have to be moved out to about above the fenders. The zip's a little wider. So I'll remove this roller. I'll put one clear back at the back. And basically I'm going to extend this and then I'll box the end in. But I'll box it at the same V shape as the rear of the boat. I'll use all of my plans from the boat frame so I can match that V exactly to the boat. And I'll run 2 of these bunks per side. One underneath each chine on the far outside, and then one under a batten down the middle. And so basically I'll set them up so that they'll land on 2 or 3 frames, and the new bunks will run basically right underneath the battens on the zip. So this is the kind of, I'm no boat builder, like I've said before. I'm not a woodworker. This is the kind of work that I'm very comfortable with. Metalworking, cutting, grinding, welding. I have all of that equipment here in my garage, so this is the kind of stuff that I'm really good at. So that's what I'm going to do. Originally I was going to build a little cart for the zip, a little wooden cart, basically cradles, that I could flip it over and set it in the garage. But, you know, in 2 to 3 more months' time, the boat's going to get to a point where it's going to have to be set on the trailer. It'll get too heavy to be lifting off of that little cart. So I thought, you know, I already have this trailer. I'm going to have to modify it anyhow to work for the zip. I might as well just take the time while the paint's drying and fully curing give it an extra week to cure and modify the trailer. It eliminates the extra time and material and money to build a temporary cart when I'm going to have to modify the trailer for the Zip anyhow. So I thought, you know what, we'll just kill two birds with one stone. We'll let the paint dry an extra week or so. I'll go ahead and purchase my steel. I believe I'm going to have to take this winch off up here and move it ahead a foot. Extend the rear 3 feet, and that should be about right. So anyhow, I'll get the back all built and ready. We'll get the Zip flipped over and on it. I'm going to, again, move that roller. I'll put it clear back at the back of the V, and I'll put another one somewhere up here right underneath frame 5.5. But that's my plan. I'll go ahead and leave the winch off until the Zip is sitting on the trailer and I've got it positioned on the trailer where I want it, and then I'll set that winch so that it's just barely touching and weld it back down. So this is what I'm working on. This is a nice little trailer, actually. It came on another boat that I bought several years ago. Somebody had painted, but it has galvanized fenders on it, and nice wheels, nice tires, new wheel bearings, brand new winch setup, brand new jack. It's basically a new little trailer, and I'll just modify this to fit the Zip. Look, see? Oh, geez, don't look at my nipples.